Hi everybody, welcome back to another live stream. So, Lara from Complete Test Success here, and today we are looking at another Task 2 question. So if you're new to these live streams, basically what we do is I'll show you a question and I'll get you to write the various parts of the question. I'll give you feedback on your work, I'll tell you what things you're doing wrong, I'll point out your mistakes. And then by showing you your mistakes, that will obviously allow you to improve on those areas and allow you to improve your scores. So basically, the main goal here is for me to give you feedback. As well as giving you feedback, I will also construct the essay on the screen together. So I'll take, some of your answers and I'll add them to a document and we'll write the essay together as we go along. So that's basically what we are doing. And the first part of every essay is to write the paraphrase. So basically the paraphrase means you rewrite the question statement. The reason you're doing that is because you want to tell the reader of your essay what your essay is about. And your essay is about the same thing as the question. So we're rewriting it, but we don't want to copy every word, because if we copy every word, then it looks like we do not know how to write an essay, or at least we don't have the English to do that. So this is basically what we're looking at. Today's question is, around the world, many people buy ready-to-eat food rather than cooking for themselves. Do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? So what you need to do is paraphrase this bit here. So basically rewrite that in your own words. You can share that with me in the comments and I'll have feedback for you based on your responses. Hi, Vincy. I'm doing good. Thanks very much. Good to see you too. Welcome to the lesson. Okay, so that's your task for the moment. Write the paraphrase, share it with me in the comments, and then I'll have feedback for you. When is my next class about reading? So I don't normally do live streams on reading, and I cover those in my free live feedback lessons. So those are the group classes I have on Zoom. It's more difficult to talk about reading because generally what I do is I don't try to teach reading, or we don't look at specific tests. Basically, in those lessons, the students come to me with their problems. They explain, what problems are they having, what challenges are they having, why they can or they can't improve their scores. And then based on that, I'll help them overcome their problems. But it's quite difficult to do that in this format because, you can just write down a short message to me here, but I need to kind of get into a bit more detail and there's a bit more back and forth required for me to figure out what's wrong. So I'll generally I'll just do those in the live feedback lessons. To join those, you'll find a link in the video description, and you sign up and you'll see the schedule with what lessons are on, what dates, what times the lessons are on, what topics. So you'll see it there. So click on the link in the video description and you'll see it there. Okay, Dimitri, a number of individuals. No, a number makes it sound like, there are some individuals or something like that. So no, it doesn't have the same feel. A number of individuals all over the world prefer to purchase food which is ready to eat instead of cooking. So let's just say many or some. And then to say the individuals are all over the world, but it's not that each individual is all over the world. So it's just, we'd have to say from. It's definitely a good starting point. A few small grammar and vocab mistakes, but it's definitely a good starting point. So let's use that as our paraphrase. Okay, so I'll just add that to my document here. Let's say some. Okay. Some individuals from all over the world. Individuals from all over the world. Let's just keep it simple. Individuals from all over the world. It doesn't necessarily mean everyone, just they're from everywhere. From all over the world. I'm going to go with many. Make sure it's 100% the same as the question. So many individuals from all over the world prefer to purchase food which is ready to eat instead of cooking. Okay, that's a good paraphrase. Okay, now for this question type, we need to say what our opinion is and give reasons for our opinion. So we're going to have something along the lines of, I feel that the advantages of this, of doing this outweigh disadvantages because, and then we're going to have advantage A and advantage B, while the only disadvantage is, and then we're going to have one disadvantage here. So I want to have two advantages here and one disadvantage, or it might be the other way around. Like if we can think of two disadvantages faster than we can think of two advantages, well, then we'll just change this. I feel that the disadvantages of this outweigh the advantages because A and B, while the only advantage is C. So it doesn't really matter. I don't really care what opinion I put in my essay. All I care about is, can I think of ideas that are relevant and ideas that are specific? So that's my main focus. So that's what I wanted to do next. I know some of you have already written paraphrases, and I will give you feedback on that in a moment. But the next task is, what main ideas can we use? So what advantages, one or two, and what disadvantages, one or two, can we use for this question? Okay. And let me continue giving feedback to everyone else then. Okay, Lewis, many people worldwide. Sorry, just trying to get everything on screen here. Many people worldwide prefer to buy ready-to-eat food instead of cooking. Many people worldwide. Let's start with worldwide. Worldwide, many people prefer to buy ready-to-eat food instead of cooking. Good. There are a lot of words that you've copied from the text, but I think you've actually you've made a wise decision. Like ready-to-eat food is a very specific thing, and I think just writing it that way means that you're definitely accurate. You're not worried about paraphrasing the question incorrectly. So no, that's a good job. I would just put worldwide at the beginning. Mohammediyar, in most parts of the world. Now we want to say we want our paraphrase to have the same meaning as the question. So the question didn't say in most part of the world, it just said around the world, kind of generally. So we want to have the same thing. So try not to change the meaning at all, if possible. Most people, and again, many people and most people isn't the same. So many might be a small group, but it's more of a subjective term. So most means, the majority. It might mean more than 50%. It might mean 90%. Whereas many people could be 5% of the world's population. Like, it doesn't necessarily have the same meaning. So we can't use most as a synonym for many. Prefer purchasing food that is ready to eat rather than cooking for themselves. Yep. If you can avoid copying so many words in a row, it's better. But like I said earlier with Lewis, is if you're changing the word and the meaning is wrong, that's a problem. Whereas if you are changing the word accurately, that's better. But between those two is copying. So copying is better than being wrong, but changing is better than copying. So you kind of have to play into your own strengths. Just do the best you can with your current ability. Hi, Mohammed. All over the world, many people tend to prefer eating ready-to-eat food rather than preparing their own meals. Okay, good. In the world, many people do not have time to waste cooking. So, as a main idea, yes, but we don't want to say many people do not have time to waste. What we want to say is it's an advantage because they can save time, right? So it's not that this idea isn't discussing why it's an advantage or why it's a disadvantage that people are doing it. You're trying to explain why people are doing it. So if the question said, why are people doing it? Why are people doing this? That would make sense. But you weren't asked why people were doing it. So we don't want to explain why they're doing it. We want to explain why we think it's good that they're doing it. So that could certainly be one of our advantages, but not the way you've written it. So it would be something like this. Because it helps people to save time. Okay. And again, I don't mind if we have two more disadvantages. I can just swap them around. We don't have to have two advantages and one disadvantage. We might have two disadvantages and one advantage. We'll just continue to think of ideas whichever idea comes next, as long as it's relevant and specific, we'll use it. Okay, some people around the globe tend is a verb, tend to purchase ready-made food rather than cooking. Good. That's good. Just be careful with your punctuation. You want ready-made is hyphenated. You want a full stop at the end, and you want a capital letter at the start. So mainly good. Punctuation mistakes would be the main areas for you to focus on. Instead means what? I don't understand. Instead, rather than, same as rather than, Bincy. Dimitri, I feel that the disadvantages of doing this outweigh the advantages because by consuming ready-to-eat meals regularly, they spend too much money and also harm their health. Perfect. Okay, so that's all the ideas we need. We now have 3 ideas, but I need to adapt my essay. So let me find Dimitri's ideas, and I'm just going to paste them in. Okay. So I feel that the disadvantages of doing this outweigh the advantages because by consuming ready-to-eat meals regularly, they spend too much money and also harm their health. While the only advantage is that it helps people to save time. Okay, great. So that there is our introduction finished. We paraphrased the question. We clearly stated our opinion. We included 2. Let me make this even more basic and more simple so it's easier to follow. We included 2 advantages. They spend too much money and also harm their health, while the only advantage is it helps to save time. And that's it. That's everything we needed. Paraphrase, opinion, 2 ideas for one side, 1 idea for the other side. Perfect. All right, that's good. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to write 3 paragraphs. And basically, each of our ideas will be in the same order. So our first idea in the introduction was they spend too much money. So that will be the first paragraph will be about that. They harm their health. That will be the second paragraph. And then it helps people to save time. That will be our third paragraph. Now, each of these paragraphs will be somewhere about 70 words long. So they don't have to be very long because we have 3 paragraphs. That's kind of the length that you would expect to write for each of those. Now, I want to focus on paragraph 1 first. So let me just organize everything so that we can try and see everything on the screen at the same time. You know, as you're developing that idea, it's very important that you're still writing in the context of the question. You know, we can't just talk about why it's bad to spend too much money. Like, we're not trying to explain why spending money is bad or what they could do with the money if they didn't spend it. What we want to explain is how the situation in the question results in them spending too much money. Okay, so that's my next task for you right now, is to tell me, how can we develop this idea? How can we develop the idea of they spend too much money? Okay, so as before, I want you to write your response, share it with me in the comments, and I'll have some feedback for you there. As you are writing the development, as you're writing your response to this task, I'll continue giving feedback to the other students. Okay, so Lewis, because it saves time and energy and allows to try a variety of dishes cooked by professional cooks. So those are 2 advantages. It saves time and energy. What I would generally say to my students, it saves time and it saves energy. Is that the same thing? Or is that 2 different things? And the problem then is, well, really it's 2 different things, but you're writing about that as if it's one idea. It saves time and energy, but it's not really one idea, it's 2 ideas. And so what I tell my students is, anytime you see the word "and" in the middle of your idea, you think saving time and energy is one idea, but why do you need the word "and" if it's one idea? And what you want to do then is probably remove one of those. So just say it saves time, and all you need to do then is explain why it saves time. Or say it saves energy, and all you have to do is explain why it saves energy. But if you put in it saves time and energy, you need to explain both of those things in your body paragraph. You need to make that clear. Okay. And allows them to try a variety of dishes cooked by professional cooks. Absolutely, yeah. So really, you have 3 ideas. They're all relevant. They're all specific. So they're all suitable. But the only problem is you thought you had 2 ideas and you actually have 3. So you're going to make things more challenging. While the only disadvantage is that they spend time on cooking. So you're after getting mixed up there, Dimitri. So it's not that they're spending time on cooking. We're describing the disadvantage of buying ready-to-eat food. So the only advantage is that they don't have to spend time cooking. So you're just after mixing that up the other way around. You can see, very good. Hi, Jara. Welcome to the lesson. Mohammed, around all parts of the world, numerous masses prefer to purchase ready-to-eat food, neither cooking for themselves. Okay, so what you're doing is you're trying to change too many words. And this is what I was talking about with the other students earlier on. Changing the words is necessary. You do need to change some of the words, but you don't need to change all of the words. So now you're talking about the masses instead of people. Doesn't really have the same meaning, and it's not used in the same context. Neither doesn't have the same meaning as rather or instead, so that doesn't work. So what you're doing is, by changing too many words, it's unclear. Now, I understand it because I know what the original question was, but if you gave this to me without having seen the original question, I would find it a bit more difficult to guess what you're talking about. So accuracy and clarity is important. So you're probably better off not to change so many words in your answer, in your paraphrase. Okay, Mohammed, the advantage is saving time is one of the biggest advantages because cooking our own food takes some time while buying a ready-made meal does not require much time and effort. In addition, ready-to-made food is mostly delicious and well cooked. For many people who don't know how to cook, this may be the best option instead of preparing meals that they won't like. So for your introduction, when you're outlining your ideas, we don't explain them yet. So you've got some relevant stuff in there that we can use later. We can use that in the body paragraph. But as it stands, this is too long. You're going to end up with a very long introduction, and it's not the place to explain your ideas. So just mention the specific ideas, and the ideas that you mentioned are suitable, saving time, and they can eat more, like the food that they eat will taste better. Those ideas are suitable. Just mention them briefly in the introduction and explain them and develop those ideas later. So you're doing what you need to do, just in the wrong part of the essay. The first reason why it is bad that too many people in different countries cook less than they used to is that buying food which doesn't require preparation they spend. Okay. So just grammatically not right, but good besides that. So the information we want is there. Okay, so Dimitri again. And we can pop this in here. Now, it's not enough, it's not long enough, but it's definitely a good start. So the first reason why it is bad that so many people in different countries, so many people around the world are choosing ready. Where am I? To eat food. Now, the reason I'm changing this is you said that they cook less. And I think you're right. Like, we can make that assumption that many people buy ready-to-eat food rather than cooking for themselves. But there is no, in the question, they haven't really talked about a change. So, whether this has been going on for a long time already, or whether this is a new trend, that wasn't stated in the question. So I'm not going to say that they're cooking less now. I know if we go back far enough in time, we can say that definitely that's the case. But let's just stick with what the question said. So the first reason why it is bad that so many people around the world are choosing ready-to-eat food is that buying food which doesn't require preparation means that they spend a lot more money. Because now we are making a comparison. Now we are making a comparison. More money than what? More money than the people who cook at home. So that's fine. Okay, now, like I said, we need about 70 words for this paragraph. At the moment, we have about 34. So we need to develop that idea further. Okay, I'm just going to reduce the size of the introduction because it's very important that we continue looking at the question as we're writing this paragraph. People can take care of their health. So would this be an advantage of eating ready-to-eat food? So maybe you're going to say that ready-to-eat food is healthier than the food that people would cook at home. If that's what you're going to say, that's fine. Hi, Deki. Welcome. Hi, Sung. Welcome to the lesson. Davina, buying cooked food costs a lot of money, but lacks nutrients that are needed. Okay, so that would be good. So one of the advantages could be it costs. Sorry. Two disadvantages you're giving me. Sorry. So one disadvantage, it costs a lot of money. Another disadvantage, it lacks nutrients. Perfect. We're going to stick with the ideas that we have on the screen, but absolutely those ideas are suitable. But then, of course, remember, you've given me two disadvantages, so we would also need an advantage to follow up with that. Paz, hello, thank you for another IELTS academic writing test too. Very welcome. No problem at all, Paz. Good to see you here. Lewis, the first drawback of buying ready-to-eat meals is the high spend it involves. The high cost it involves. High spend isn't a collocation. This type of food is often expensive because all of the work a chef does to prepare it. Because of all of the work. Okay, so I like this. I'm going to take it and I'm going to add it to what we have. So now we're explaining why does it cost more money. This type of food is often more expensive. I'm going to remove often. This type of food is more expensive than cooking at home because all of the work a chef does to prepare the food, to prepare and cook the food must be paid for by the customer, whereas only the ingredients whereas only the cost of the ingredients I'm confusing myself here now. Where only the ingredients must be paid for. I'm repeating the same phrase. I don't like that I've said must be paid for here and here, but I'm going to stay going with it now until I can think of something better. Whereas only the ingredients must be paid for by those who cook at home. Okay. Okay, so 80 words, a little bit long. Whereas, and I'm going to just change this around. Those who cook at home only need to buy the ingredients. Okay, now there. Just because I have must be paid for twice in the same sentence is a bit unusual. So I'm happier with that now. There's a little bit more variety and it doesn't seem as repetitive. 78 words. Okay, perfect. So that is the first body paragraph finished. And that, of course, brings us to the next body paragraph where we need to write about how this type of food is harmful for their health. Okay, so that then is the next task. Can you tell me how are we going to develop this paragraph? It is harmful to their health. Okay, Mohammed. Generally, to purchase a ready-to-eat meal is more expensive. So just write down a ready-to-eat meal. I know you're trying not to repeat the language again, but it's the correct thing to say. Generally, to purchase a ready-to-eat meal is more expensive than buying the essential ingredients and making it by ourselves. So it's the same thing for food, because when you have a meal in a restaurant and a famous brands, you are not paying only for the food, but also the brand, the view where you eat. And for example, buying a sandwich from McDonald's costs more than the same one. Okay, so a little bit off track. You're starting by talking about things generally. I'd recommend that you just start by talking about food straight away. So probably that first sentence can be removed, and then just explain why it's more expensive to buy ready to eat food. Okay. Dimitri, this is to say it is much more expensive to purchase microwave ready meals, such as onion dumplings for the whole family, than to buy all the ingredients and cook them. We've kind of said this already, Dimitri. So you don't want to repeat the point. And that's kind of what you're doing here. So what you said first was, it's cheaper to buy food. Sorry, it's more expensive to buy food that's already been prepared. And then here you're basically saying it's more expensive to buy food that's already been prepared. So what you need to do here in that development of that idea is explain why is it cheaper, or why is it more expensive, or give an example of the difference between how much you might pay for a meal out compared to a meal at home. Whatever way you want to develop it is fine, but you don't want to repeat the idea. Repeating the idea doesn't count, and that's what you're after doing here. No problem, pause. Lewis, to cite an example, most restaurants near business areas offer only expensive dishes that many workers cannot afford to buy daily. Well, Lewis, you see, the problem here is that we're talking about people buying this food every day. So if you're saying people can't afford to buy it daily, well, then you're not talking about the people in the question. You're talking about a different group of people. So this isn't relevant. We have to talk about many people buying ready-to-cook meals instead of cooking. We're talking about the people who do it, but you're talking about the people who cannot do it. So that's unfortunately not going to be suitable for the essay. One advantage of cooking ready-made food is meals will be more expensive than cooking at home. Good. You need to be careful with your punctuation, so no space before the comma. You need a full stop at the end. One advantage of choosing ready-made food is, well, you need no comma actually. The meals meals will be more expensive than cooking at home. And then you said because merchants, it's not really a word that we use, a merchant. It's not really a common word anymore. We wouldn't use it just to talk about, people selling food generally. If you think about a merchant, we'd more likely think about like maybe a wholesale, or somebody who imports or exports or something like that. It wouldn't just be like a standard person cooking and selling food. We'll always charge the customer for the cost of preparing the food, and not only the cost of the ingredients. Yep. So your explanation is good. I would just change the word merchants there. How's tomorrow's speaking feedback Zoom? No, we're not doing that tomorrow. I have to go on a trip that I wasn't expecting. So I sent out an email to everyone yesterday and said that maybe you didn't see the email, but no lesson. I had to cancel tomorrow's lesson because I need to go on a trip. So no lesson tomorrow. Another reason in favor of cooking at home instead of buying ready-to-eat meals is that such food is bad for people's health. Lovely. So again, Dimitri, let's copy that. And that's a perfect topic sentence. So just clearly repeating what my main idea is. Okay. So again, we need to develop that idea. Okay. Oh, we looked at that already. Hi, Millicent. In addition, the already made meals are mostly junk. Well, generally junk would be, like stuff we don't need anymore. So we talk about junk food, but you would need to use that as a fixed expression. You can't just say junk, because junk is something different and lacks the essential nutrients needed by the body to carry out its functions. These meals are packed with fat, which tends to lead to obesity and other cardiovascular diseases. Okay, great. This is perfect. So just give me a moment to find that, and I'll add that to the paragraph. So basically, we're explaining why this food is unhealthy. So that's Millicent. And we'll add it to what we have here. So another reason in favor of cooking at home instead of buying ready-to-eat food is that such food is bad for people's health. In addition, now we're going to have to change that. This is because we're getting into the explanation now. Just because these meals are mostly junk food and lack the essential nutrients needed by the body to carry out its functions. Let's just continue with the same sentence. And many of these meals are packed with fat. Packed with fat is a bit informal. So many of these meals contain high levels of fat, which tends to lead to obesity and other cardiovascular diseases. Very nice. So 65, a little bit short, but that's going to do. That's good enough. All right, great. So that then, of course, brings us to the final idea. Now, let me just get these all down nice and small so we can focus on this next idea here. The last idea is going to be, it helps people to save time. So again, that's my next task for you. How are we going to develop this idea? I'm not sure if we'll have time to finish. The lesson is finished in 22 minutes. So we'll do as much as we can within that time, but I'm not able to go over that time limit because I have other lessons to attend after that. Mohammed, one of the benefits of these kinds of ready-made food is it can be a time saver for busy people. Many people do not have the time or energy to cook when they get back to their homes. Now, this kind of packaged food appears to be a lifesaver for them. A lot of students, for example, in megacities. Megacity? What's a megacity? A very large city, typically one with a population of over 10 million people. Okay. For example, in megacities, love to buy ready-to-eat food because instead of preparing homemade food, they can devote time to their studies. Now, no, the answer is that that development isn't okay. Now, the problem here is you're telling me why people want to save time. You're telling me why people need to save time. So this is what happens to a lot of candidates. This is a very, very common mistake. So when we were trying to think of our main ideas, we were looking at the question, going, why do people eat ready-to-make food? Why are people eating this type of food? And we're going, an advantage. Sorry, what's an advantage of this? What's a disadvantage of this? And then we're thinking, well, it's an advantage because it helps us to save time. Now, when we're developing this idea, we can't just forget about what the question is asking us. The question is still about ready-to-eat food, and our essay is still about ready-to-eat food. But what you've done, and like I said, it's a very common mistake, you've stopped focusing at the question. You've stopped focusing on the question, and you're looking just completely at the idea. And now you're talking about the idea, but without any reference to the question, completely forgetting what the question is about. Now, this is why I am making this text small, because when we're developing this idea, I can't just show you this idea, because that's not enough. You need to be able to look at the idea and the question at the same time, because what you say about the idea has to be related to what the question asked, not just why people want to save time or why people need to save time or what they can do with their time after they save time, like what they will do with the time they save. None of that's relevant. What we need to know is, why does doing this save time? Why does eating ready-to-eat meals save time? So, the response is quite obvious. I don't think anybody in the world is going to be too surprised when we explain how or why it saves time. But regardless, that's the purpose of our paragraph, is to explain the connection between the topic of the question and the main idea that we have produced. So this is a very, very common mistake. We see this in the IELTS test. We see candidates make this mistake all the time. So just be careful with that. You can't forget what the question is about after choosing your ideas. When you're developing the idea, what explanation are you using? What example are you using? It all has to be in the context of the question. Okay, moreover, a second disadvantage is the harm that ready-to-eat food represents for the health of consumers. Good. Many of these foods contain additives that provide flavor and preservatives that avoid spoiling, which can be detrimental to people's health. Very good. Yep. This is because restaurants and supermarkets which sell food which is ready to eat add a lot of sugar, salt, sugar, and fatty ingredients which are associated with cardiovascular diseases. Okay, very good. Mohammed, ready-to-eat food was not so relevant. It may lack hygiene problem to our diet, which causes many health issues. Good. So we can say ready-to-eat food is often not as hygienic as food that is prepared in the home. Yeah, so that's perfect. The language, actually, the vocab and the grammar, there are quite a few mistakes, so you do need to work on vocab and grammar, but the idea makes sense. So for task achievement, it's good. Most doctors advise to avoid street food because it's usually unhealthy and may be harmful, because most restaurants use chemicals to cook a big amount of food quickly. For example, potassium or sodium, and street food is often cooked in dirty places and not using clean plates. Yeah, that all makes sense. Good job, Mohammed. Hi, Oshin. In addition, the packet item food cause a lot of harms. The packet item food. Now, this isn't a noun. The packet item food, that's not a phrase. So that doesn't mean anything, and it's unclear. So vocab is definitely something for you to work on. A lot of harm that's uncountable to our health while eating them on a daily basis. So vocab is definitely an area for you to work on. So there are two things to consider. When you're writing, try to reduce your range of vocabulary. If you can reduce your range of vocabulary while you're writing, that will reduce the number of mistakes you're making, and then it will be clearer. The second thing is you need to study vocab on the long term to improve your range and your accuracy. So when you're writing, try to keep it simple so it's clearer, and study vocab to improve your overall communication ability. By cooking at home, you can tailor your meals to suit your dietary preferences and nutritional needs. Yep. Okay. We could definitely add that to the paragraph we've written. Yep, that makes sense. Whether you're following a specific diet or have food allergies, cooking at home allows you to choose ingredients that align with your health goals. Good. Hassam, for example, a ready-made meal could cost you around twice the amount you could buy the same meal's ingredients for. Just that. The only advantage of buying ready-to-eat meals rather than cooking at home is that by doing it, by doing this, because this is the thing that is being done, not the thing. So doing something, doing a thing, doing this. People spend a lot less time on feeding themselves. Okay, so it's just some small grammar mistakes here, Dimitri, but I'm going to copy this. I'm going to add it to the document. Okay, so just give me one moment here now. Okay, so this is going to be our topic sentence, repeating the idea again. So the only advantage of buying ready-to-eat meals, and what you can see what Dimitri has done here is very clearly stated the only advantage, because we've just been talking about disadvantage. What does the reader expect us to do? Continue talking about disadvantages. So we need to make it clear that we're not talking about disadvantages anymore. So Dimitri's done very well here to kind of make it clear we're going to the other side. The only advantage, okay, the reader knows we're talking about advantages, and then clearly state what that advantage is. So that's very good for coherence and cohesion. Everything that you see here is really strong. The only advantage of buying ready-to-eat meals rather than cooking at home is that by doing this, people spend a lot less time feeding themselves. Feed. It's not, I don't think it's wrong, but it's just not a very natural way of saying it. So they spend a lot less time eating. I'm just going to say that. I think that's definitely going to be accurate. Okay, and then we need to develop that. For example, okay, so we looked at that already. Okay, same thing again. In contrast, one of the pros of buying, so again, we have the same thing here, Millicent, using the cohesive device. In contrast, so it's like, okay, we're talking about something else now. We're talking about the other side now. So that's very important again for coherence and cohesion. One of the pros of buying ready-to-eat food, it's an uncountable noun, is that it saves time, as one doesn't have to go about cooking after the day work or just time-consuming and tiring. It also helps people spend more time with their family after the activities of the day, which is one major form of bonding. So we were talking about this earlier on. Now you're talking about what they're doing with the time that they save. We don't want to talk about that. We want to focus on the ready-to-eat food throughout the paragraph, not our main idea. Well, also our main idea, but not only our main idea. It has to be about the topic of the question and our main idea. So don't shift away from that and talk about what they will do with their extra time. You know, if they go out on the street taking drugs with their extra time, or if they spend the extra time with their family, we don't really care what they're doing with the extra time. Whether they're doing something good or something bad, we don't care. What we care about is, how do they get extra time? How does it result in extra time? So the first part of your answer is fine. The first part of your paragraph is fine, but the second bit wouldn't be suitable and wouldn't help improve your task achievement score. Advantage of buying already prepared food is that it saves a lot of time. Perfect. Good. Many workers have a tight schedule. To make time to cook for themselves, they cannot resort to paying for their food. So again, this is why they're doing it, why they want to save time, but we don't want to know why they need to save time. You know, even if I'm free all day long, if I'm unemployed, I sit in my house, all I do is watch TV all day, eating ready-to-eat food is still going to save me time. So whether you're talking about someone who's very busy and they're saving their time, or someone who does nothing all day and that saves their time, it doesn't change what we're talking about. So why the person needs to save time has got nothing to do with this paragraph. So focus on, how does buying ready-to-eat food rather than cooking for themselves save time? And it's so obvious. There's nobody in the world that won't understand how or why that's the case. But this is what our paragraph is about. So we need to explain it clearly and stay on topic. Buying ready-made food saves time since you don't go around searching and buying ingredients. Okay, perfect. So this is what we're talking about. So this is the first bit. So Callisto, I'll copy that there. And let me paste that into the question. Into the essay here, excuse me. Okay, so buying ready-made food saves time since you don't need to go around searching for and buying the ingredients that you need to cook. Okay, so that makes sense. Now, how many words is that? 47. Okay, so we need about another 20 words to finish that paragraph. So we're not finished yet. So I'll stay going through the comments and see could we find, excuse me, I'll stay going through the comments and see if we can find any more. This is because most meals require a lot of actions. No, actions wouldn't be the right word. A lot of effort, require a lot of tasks. Maybe tasks is what you're looking for, such as buying ingredients, washing and dicing them, and different techniques of preparation. For example, cooking lasagna from scratch takes more than 2 hours. However, the same dish can be purchased from a shop and will require only 10 minutes to reheat. Okay, I like that as well. So I'm going to take that example. I'm going to add it in. So that's Dimitri again. Okay, so we've been talking about buying food. So now we need to change the topic. Buying ready-made food saves time. It also removes the requirement of cooking food. And then we have Dimitri's. For example, cooking lasagna from scratch takes more than 2 hours. However, the same dish can be purchased from a shop and requires only 10 minutes to reheat. Nice. I like that reheat bit. So that there is 84. A little bit long again, but fine. We're aiming, about 70. About 70 is good. Like I would never delete something. After writing it. Just what I would do is try not to write more than 70 words. So it's not that writing more than 70 is bad. It's just that there's only 40 minutes in the test. So we don't want to end up spending all our time writing. Okay, and then to finish off, we need to write the conclusion. We're not going to have time to do this today, but essentially the conclusion will just repeat what we said in the introduction. So the conclusion will say something along the lines of, in conclusion, I believe the disadvantages of people purchasing ready-made food instead of cooking themselves outweigh the advantages. And then I'll repeat. Although there is the advantage of saving time, the disadvantages include spending too much money and harming health and harming their health. So that would be the conclusion, just to basically repeat the opinion, repeat the main ideas. And that would be it. Okay, so that there, I believe, is our lesson for today. I have another few comments that I'll go through here quickly, but that's essentially the full essay written. We didn't write the conclusion, but I just explained what we would say. Hi, Nasir. Good to see you here. Mahamadul, saving time is one of the reasons people love to buy this kind of food. Usually ready-made food requires a very short time to prepare. Maggi noodles, for instance, a famous easy-to-make food all over the world, takes only 2 minutes to get ready. And in this way, it can save a huge amount of time for the consumers. This is one of the reasons these kinds of food are pretty popular around the world these days. The word pretty is informal, so we would need to remove that. But yeah, overall, very, very good. Good old Maggi noodles. Exquisite learning in Nepal. Hello to you. So one notable advantage of consuming fast food is time-saving convenience. It's time-saving convenience. No, we'll just say that it saves time. particularly in today's fast-paced lifestyle. So again, don't get away from why people want to save time. Just focus on how this type of food saves time. Fast food establishments offer quick and easy accessible meals, sparing individuals the time and effort required for meal preparation or dining at traditional restaurants. For instance, consider a scenario where a busy professional has a hectic schedule, rushing between meetings and deadlines. In such a scenario, stopping by a fast food outlet for a quick meal allows them. Okay, so unfinished, but yeah, it all makes sense. So it's good. But remember, we don't want to talk about, the busy professionals. We don't care who's saving time or why they want to save time. We only care about how does this type of food save time. Just that, nothing else. Another reason is that people find it more suitable to simply order it. So that would be more suitable is too vague. Why is it more suitable? In what way is it more suitable? Or how do people feel? Or why do people feel it's more suitable? So that's the other thing. The two main problems with ideas are they're either going to be irrelevant or they're going to be vague. And this is vague because we don't know why it's suitable. So there might be many reasons why it's suitable. So just try to choose one of those. Repeating ready to eat isn't a problem. If yes, what's some synonyms of it? You see, the thing is, you have to do the best you can with the vocab that you have. If you know other ways to say ready to eat meals, definitely say it in the other ways you know. But if you're thinking, oh, I'm after using that phrase like 6 or 7 times, and that's bad, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to try and change it, but I don't really know another way to say it, but I'm going to change it anyway, that's a bad idea. And we see a lot of unclear writing because people take that approach. So if you could change it, would it be better? Yes. Do you know how to change it? If the answer is yes, then you should. And if the answer is no, then you shouldn't. So do the best you can with your own ability and don't pressure yourself into making mistakes because that's not going to result in a higher score. Oisin, perhaps the most obvious benefit is that they save time. They can come home after a long day of work and have a delicious, healthy meal waiting for them without having to spend any time in the kitchen. So we don't know why they have to. You haven't told us why they save time. So you're just saying they can save time, they can come home and save time. But we need to know how can they save time? Why can they save time? So you're missing the explanation. Pre-prepared meals are also convenient. You can take them with you or go to eat them at home. So now you're after moving on to another topic. So that's moving away from the point that we're making. So that wouldn't help either. Okay. Sir, you have not made any video regarding bar chart. Kindly, I've covered nearly everything. If you go to the playlists, if you go to the playlists on my YouTube channel, and you'll see there's a task 1, academic task 1 playlist, and you'll find everything there. Can I use for example in more than one paragraph? It's better if you don't. Did I use for example more than once? I might have. I wasn't paying attention there. Whether I have or haven't, it's better if you don't. Use for instance once, use for example another time. It doesn't seem like I have. And again, like I was saying to Mohammed, is it depends on your ability. Like if you know another word with the same meaning, then use the other word. And if you don't know another word, then just continue to say, for example. Can we use percentages in task 2? You can. It's not my favorite way of giving an example. And you hear examiners kind of debating whether it's acceptable or not sometimes. But you can, but I wouldn't. I don't personally recommend it, but it is acceptable. Let me know whenever this writing task is perused on a weekday. Yeah, so we do this every, what day is it? Tuesday? Yeah, so do live streams every Tuesday. Hi, Kamika. Okay, so we looked at that already. You're very welcome. Okay, so that's it. That's it for today. We're right up to the last minute, so we did well to get through so much. Some really good writing, and hopefully you've learned something from this, especially if I'm pointing out your mistakes. I know it's not nice when you share your writing and I'm just there telling you it's wrong. But in reality, those things that are wrong are stopping you from getting a higher score. So by knowing what's wrong and going and fixing those problems, you will be able to improve your score. Okay, so that's it for today. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Talk to you next time. Bye for now.